XRP Apex was an incredible experience. Honestly, one of the biggest XRP events to date. Every Apex event is huge, but this one was next level. The amount of information shared was so substantial that there's no way I could fit it all into one video. Over the past few days, I've been breaking down all the big announcements from XRP Apex in my videos. One of the most exciting updates: Pierce's technology got officially confirmed by Joel Katz, Ripple's CTO, and Jazzy Cooper. And that's right, XRP Ledger EVM is confirmed to go live in Q2. This is a big deal for DeFi, with apps like Strobe Finance, Vertex Protocol, Secured Labs, and Squid Router already in the mix. Guys, this is so exciting. I honestly believe this could be one of the biggest developments for the XRP Ledger. The sidechain is a game changer, no doubt. Oh, and don't forget to keep an eye on Axelar. It's been making waves in the market lately, and for good reason. It's a key piece of all this. Axelar is such a promising project, and it's wild to me that some people have dismissed it just because of recent price fluctuations. But trust me, it's a major player in the space and plays a huge role in enabling things like the EVM sidechain for the XRP Ledger. Hey everyone, before we dive in, I just want to quickly mention that if you're interested, you can join our free Discord. The link is down in the description below. We also have a paid section packed with tons of valuable information. There's a whole team behind it, including me, Tokenizer, JD, and a bunch of OG Discord members who've been with us since 2021. You're more than welcome to join us, free or paid. Just check out the links in the description. Now moving on, let's talk about the XRP Ledger EVM. Pierce has recently shared a post about it, which I've included in this video. Exciting news. We've got 87 new entities involved. A lot of new contributors with no prior XRP involvement are now stepping in to support the ecosystem, working on infrastructure, apps, and driving demand. And guess what? We can actually see all their names, which is super exciting. This is what's lined up for Q2 of this year, and it seems like the big announcement is just around the corner. I'm really excited about it because I believe this could be a game changer for the XRP Ledger ecosystem, especially for DeFi projects. I'm confident this will boost the total value locked, TVL, increase overall volume, and add more value across the network. And of course, as all of this momentum builds, exciting news ahead. On top of everything, we've got another big update from Pierce's technology about the testnet. As I mentioned, we're about to see some huge moves on the XRP Ledger once it goes live. Here's the proof. The testnet is already handling nearly 300,000 daily transactions. We're also seeing impressive numbers with total addresses and transactions. It's all super encouraging. The demand and growth on the testnet are clear, and I can't wait to see what happens when it officially transitions to the mainnet. I'm definitely keeping a close eye on this, and honestly, I think every XRP holder should be just as excited. We've got some exciting updates from Apex about XRP, RLUSD, and Hidden Road. Big shout out to Wrath of Kahneman for sharing the details. Apex asked about how XRP and RLUSD interact, and here's a scoop. Higgins from Hidden Road shared that they're thrilled to have cleared the first XRP futures on CME. Here's why it's a big deal. Hidden Road uses a strategy called a basis trade. They buy XRP on the spot market and sell XRP futures on CME, locking in the price difference, the basis, and profiting if the gap narrows. Sounds smart, right? But there's a catch. CME only trades on weekdays, which adds some risk on weekends when the spot market is still active. That's where RLUSD steps in as a game changer. By using RLUSD as collateral, they can manage their margins more flexibly during off hours, avoiding the risk of liquidation. This reduces their overall risk and helps them profit more from trading XRP and XRP futures. Pretty fascinating, right? I'm still wrapping my head around all the finance details, but it's a great example of how innovation is shaping the trading world. Feel free to correct me if I'm off here, but I think Brad Garlinghouse might have given away some big clues about Hidden Road, not just at Apex, but on several occasions. Early on, he mentioned that the Hidden Road acquisition was a much bigger deal than most of us realized. I mean, just think about it. The 3 trillion in annual movement and the 300 institutional players connected to Hidden Road, that's huge. It's definitely something people are talking about, but honestly, I feel like we're only scratching the surface here. Hidden Road is tapping into some massive markets behind the scenes, like the FX market, which is worth an incredible 7.5 trillion per day. Their connections to TradFi are seriously impressive, and there's a lot of buzz around XRP and RLUSD in relation to Hidden Road. It feels like we're getting a sneak peek at some exciting moves they're planning, and honestly, it's hard not to feel pumped about what's coming next. Oh, and speaking of exciting updates, we heard from Brad Garlinghouse at XRP Las Vegas. Shout out to Subjective Views for sharing this, and also from Hidden Road at XRP Apex. I'll dive into what they shared about Hidden Road in just a second, but let's just say Ripple's acquisition of Hidden Road is shaping up to be a major deal. Stay tuned.
One of the things in the Hidden Road acquisition particularly, I think Ripple tries to be a little bit, we're kind of at the infrastructure layer. We try to think about where the world is going and make bets that are going to play out over years. I've always talked about, and this community particularly has been extremely patient as we have fought some frustrating fights. But the Hidden Road acquisition is really about continuing to build bridges between traditional finance and decentralized finance. And I think if you believe that it's just going to be, okay, the DeFi world is just going to grow and replace it, I don't believe that. We have to bridge that gap. And Ripple has been working around our payments business in bridging that gap for almost a decade. And for me, Hidden Road represents, if we want the largest market makers, the largest hedge funds in the world to come into this ecosystem, we need the infrastructure to enable that. Hidden Road is one of the fastest growing non-bank prime brokers. Most of the players in the prime broker space are the traditional commercial banks. And for those guys have been hostile towards crypto because of the regulatory dynamic. That's changing a little bit, but Hidden Road, I think, is a subtle, almost flex to their hundreds of clients, names you've heard of, the largest financial players in the world that are using Hidden Road. They cleared $3 trillion last year. They're growing very quickly, and frankly, with Ripple's balance sheet, we're only going to see that accelerate. That's great for the XRP ecosystem. That's great for RLUSD. And I will keep reminding people, Ripple is completely committed to what we can do to make XRP the most trusted, the most useful, and the most liquid digital asset on the planet. We will always be committed to that.
When you really think about it, Hidden Road is doing something pretty incredible. They're growing rapidly, and that growth is playing a big role in making RLUSD one of the most liquid stablecoins in the world. On top of that, it's also helping ensure that XRP remains highly liquid too. Honestly, I'm super excited about all of this. What's even more impressive is how this highlights where Ripple is right now. They're in a big growth phase and laser focused on building key infrastructure. And that's something he emphasized multiple times. And it's clear that infrastructure is their top priority. Speaking of Hidden Road, their approach to HRL is a great example of how stablecoins can bridge the gap between crypto and traditional institutions. Their focus, compliance first, liquidity ready. It's such an important piece of the puzzle. Oh, and if you're interested, there's a video from Hidden Road that dives into this further. Definitely worth checking out.
The users are, because we are talking about crypto adoption, and I cannot stress enough about the crypto adoption in Southeast Asia, where we have some of the countries like Vietnam, for instance, we have over 20%, I would say around like 13 million wallet addresses. So I do believe that when we see this at a regional level, definitely we have our own strength. But then when it comes to developing XRP ecosystem in Asia, I think we definitely have a lot of players to make this happen. So we have incubators, accelerators, we have communities, we also have let's say the intermediaries between the regulators and the communities to actually make this happen. So I think right now, maybe let's try to imagine that we are trying to grow like a regional product for Asia with XRPO. Would you guys be able to bring in any resources from your own country? So how would you imagine this regional collaboration is going to work? Because right now we are talking about external players.
On top of that, when we dive into Hidden Road, this is where things get really interesting. Higgins gives us a clear picture of what Hidden Road is all about and what they're really focused on.
In the world, and now you're integrating RLUSD into your institutional workflows, moving those to the XRPL as well. So at a high level, how do you see RLUSD fitting into your brokerage business? And what use cases have stood out so far?
Sure. First and foremost, many thanks to the entire team at Ripple for organizing this awesome event and giving us the opportunity to speak today. At Hidden Road, we clear about $3 trillion annually for a few hundred institutions across both traditional markets and digital assets. Our clients trade thousands of different products across dozens of end destinations. And as a prime broker, it's our responsibility to both clear those trades and settle all of those obligations. And so efficiency, speed, reliability are non-negotiable characteristics for any asset that we consider on our platform. And so looking at RLUSD, it really fits that mold. It's NYDFS regulated. It's a dollar-backed stablecoin that's effectively backed by US deposits and short-term US treasuries. And so that stablecoin fit seamlessly into our workflows as a trusted asset for both collateral and settlement. And kind of the low volatility nature of that made it a really good asset for cross-margining both traditional assets and digital assets. But maybe taking a step back, Lauren, and just kind of briefly describing the role of a prime broker, I think is important. So PBs are effectively access providers. We provide access to two things. One is for clients to onboard, and institutional clients to onboard and trade across the whole ecosystem. As an institutional client, they have a fiduciary responsibility generally to source the best price. So it's important that they're able to scan the market in real time. The second is access to balance sheet, so they can trade across that whole ecosystem in a capital and cost efficient way. So to unpack that a little bit more, looking at crypto in particular, there are many dozens exchanges, DEXs, where you need to open accounts and pre-fund those, which makes that capital inefficient. And so through a PB, you just need to post margin against your net risk. So our role in the market is effectively to risk manage the trade through its whole life cycle, from pre-execution to settlement. And then post-trade is to manage those trades and positions on our ledger. But looking at it from a risk perspective, what we care about is effectively looking at the client's entire portfolio, his center book risk. And based on our methodology and the math behind it, the client needs to post a collateral position against that. On the collateral, there's two characteristics. One is the type of collateral and the quality of that collateral. And the second is, if the market was to deteriorate, how quick could the client top up that collateral, called the margin period of risk. But going back to the first one, if you look at US dollars, that's the highest quality collateral because the volatility in that's the lowest. If you compared that to something like Bitcoin, we accept that as good collateral, but that's a 60 vol asset, right? So we'd haircut that more. So when we looked at RLUSD, we were able to make that equivalent to dollars. So it's effectively the highest quality collateral that sits on Hidden Road's platform. That's a big change. The second, going to the speed in which a client could top up the collateral or cure a margin call. If you were using legacy fiat systems, we know that that could take anywhere from 2 to 3 days. And so we calibrate our margin period of risk based on that slippage. And so that would increase the amount of margin that needs to be posted. Move to the world of RLUSD, we understand that that can be shipped to us as good collateral 24/7, including weekends and holidays. And so that shrinks that MPOR I was describing, which makes the trade more capital efficient. And so RLUSD adjusts our risk framework. But I think the overall movement here is being able to ship good collateral 24/7. That's the exciting step forward.
Yeah.
And if we actually think about that, right? Like, this is Hidden Road talking about this. All right, Hidden Road is addressing how RLUSD is like the big secret thing behind making sure that they have proper liquidity, they have something there that they could tap into at any time. If we think about Hidden Road being one of the big players to actually tap in here, imagine how many big other Hidden Roads are out there that are looking at what Hidden Road just did, realizing the power of this move, and thinking, maybe it's time for us to do this same exact thing. This is why when we think about this overall acquisition, yeah, we think about the size immediately. All right, 3 trillion per year, 300, institutional clients. That's massive. But think about all of the other big players out there that have another 300 or 400 or 500 institutional clients who are, moving 6 trillion, $10 trillion per year. This is where things start to really kind of unfold. And I do think that we are going to get to that point where we have multiple hidden roads on the XRP ledger based around RLUSD, integrated within the entire pipeline as well. And it all really kind of happens through Ripple acquisitions. I'm very excited about the future. I think that this is why we keep hearing about Hidden Road, because this is going to make RLUSD extremely big, but it's also going to put a lot of pressure and a lot of volume and value onto the XRP ledger as well, which is going to make, of course, XRP, valuable. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on because I'm more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. Peace out.
But let's think about this for a second. Hidden Road is the one bringing this up. They're talking about how ROUSD is the key to ensuring proper liquidity. It's like their secret weapon, something they can rely on anytime they need it. Now, if Hidden Road, a major player, is already tapping into this, imagine how many other big players are watching, realizing how smart this move is, and thinking, maybe we should do the same thing. That's why this whole acquisition is so exciting. Sure, the size of it grabs your attention right away. Wow, 3 trillion a year and 300 institutional clients, that's huge. But just imagine all the other big players out there with 300, 400, even 500 institutional clients, or handling 6 trillion, even 10 trillion annually. That's where things really start to get exciting. I truly believe we're heading toward a future where we'll see multiple hidden roads on the XRP ledger, all centered around RLUSD and fully integrated into the pipeline. And honestly, it feels like Ripple's acquisitions are what's making all of this possible. I'm really excited about what the future holds. Hidden Road keeps coming up, and for good reason. This could make RLUSD huge. Not only that, but it's going to bring a ton of volume, value, and pressure to the XRP ledger, which will naturally increase the value of XRP itself. With all that in mind, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more free content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace.